So, what I want to talk to you today about is 10 advantages that I see in studying music at Simpson College. So, a quick note to some of you may be non-music majors who are watching this presentation. Some of what we're talking about will be more applicable to music majors than not. But I just want to let you know that music majors at Simpson are non-majors are highly valued. About half of the students who participate in our program are non-majors, and our program simply would not work without the contribution that non-majors make. And although some of the things I might talk about might be of more interest to majors than non-majors, I want you to know that everything in the music program is available to non-majors. There's nothing that you can't take. So with that, talk about some of the 10 advantages I see of studying music at Simpson. The first, we have a performance emphasis at this school. We believe that performance is at the heart of all music making. And so it doesn't matter what program you're in, you're going to get the best teaching, you're going to get the best ensemble experiences, because we believe that's important for everyone, regardless of your music education or BA or whatever. Everyone needs to be a good performer. We offer a full range of ensemble opportunities. So even though we're a small college of about 1,200 students, we have most of the ensembles that you'd find at larger schools. So we have a large choir, the college choir. We have a chamber singers, which is a smaller group that does more specialized literature. On the instrumental side, we have a symphonic band, a jazz band, a symphony orchestra that also involves community members. So it's a full 60, 70-piece orchestra. And then we also do chamber music ensembles, so small groups of 4 or 5 players. This afternoon, I just had a really good rehearsal of the clarinet quintet. Enjoyed that quite a bit. And then also we do 2 full-length, fully staged opera productions with orchestra each year. And I think one thing that you'll notice is different about Simpson in terms of our productions is that the production values are very high for our operas. We have a lot of resources we can direct at that. And so our shows look and sound better, I think, than a lot of other schools, simply because we've got the benefit of having these resources. Number 3, we offer a full range of undergraduate courses. So just about anything you would want to take or expect to take as a music major, you're going to find here. We have up to 7 semesters each of music theory and also music history and literature. If you want to study music education, we have all the necessary coursework for you to get K-12 licensure. We have other courses, oral skills, conducting, diction, many things that are important to musicians. And then we also offer private lessons in voice, piano, all of the orchestral instruments, and guitar. Number 4, we are an undergraduate-only institution. And what that means is that you have no competition from graduate students for roles in the stage productions, for chairs in the ensembles, or for solos in the choir and that kind of thing. Sometimes if you're a flute player and you go to a really large university, you might be lucky if you can get into the orchestra by the time you're a senior. And that's because there's so many graduate students who play at a very high level who also are interested in playing in that group. Here, we've got students who will graduate with 8 semesters of orchestra. They might graduate having had a principal role in an opera or musical 5 or 6 times. So you oftentimes get more performing experience at an undergraduate-only institution than you might get at a school that mixes undergrads and graduates. Number 5, we give you lots of individual attention. Our class sizes across the campus tend to be small. While we do have a few large classes of 50 or 60 students, by and large, most of the classes on campus are 5 to 25 students. Your faculty will get to know you. Even faculty outside of music, if you're a music major, we have students who form relationships with English professors and history professors and people from across the campus. Likewise, I have relationships with students who aren't music majors, because it's a small school and we get to know each other. We offer private lessons in your primary and your secondary areas. So that means if you want to take piano as a second instrument or clarinet or anything else like that, you're going to get private lessons in all those areas. And then also, we have a faculty member who will serve as your academic advisor, or in some cases, students have 2 or 3 faculty members acting as advisors. So it's not just like there's an office that does advising. You'll be working with faculty on your academic advising. Number 6, we have an excellent music faculty that is both knowledgeable and good looking. Unfortunately, I'm the exception to that rule. I'm afraid I'm not very knowledgeable. but the other faculty are. So we have 7 full-time faculty from top graduate programs. Many of them, such as Professor Lau, have many years of professional experience as performers or as directors. We also have 18 teaching artists. These are part-time faculty that we recruit from Des Moines. But what that means is that we can have specialists covering all the areas in which we teach. So if you want to study trumpet, you take it from a trumpet teacher. If you want to study oboe, we have an oboe teacher for you. We have right now 4 excellent voice teachers, 1 full-time, 3 part-time on staff. So lots of opportunity there. Number 7, you have the ability to graduate in 4 years. And this is something that we work very hard to make it possible. So if you're in music education, for example, many schools, music education is now a 5-year degree, or it's listed as a 4-year degree, but it's almost not doable in 4 years. Here at Simpson, if you follow the program and you don't change your major in music education, you can graduate in 4 years. Likewise, if you want to do the BA in music and double major in something else, you can graduate with 2 degrees fairly easily here at Simpson. So that's something that's very important. And when you're thinking about the cost of schools, if you have to go an extra year, that is a big additional cost for any school. And so if you can graduate in 4 years, that's something that's really important to think about. Number 8, we give you support when you're changing your major. Sometimes we have people who come here to major in music and they get here and they love music, but what they discover is they don't love it for 8 hours a day. It's just a little bit more than they want to do. And so they start thinking about, maybe I'd want my career in another area. If that's the case, we still support you all the way through that process. We help you get connected up with other departments, help you in that transition. And then once you've changed your major, we hope that you'll still remain heavily involved in the music department, because we want your participation, and we know that music was important to you when you came, and there's no reason that that should change just because you've changed your major. Number 9, career success. We have students with all sorts of success, literally all over the country. As you can see, we have a lot of students who are now K through 12 educators here in the state of Iowa. We also have people teaching in public schools across the United States, from Florida all the way to California. We have our students, former students, who are now faculty at colleges and universities, ranging from small schools like the College of the Ozarks all the way to big schools like Louisiana State University. We have many of our students go on to establish private studios and make a living doing that. I've tracked down at least 13 of our students who have a earn a significant income with private studios. For a small school, we have a disproportionate number of our students who have gone on to success as performers, particularly in opera. When I was doing my research in this area last year and this year, I've counted 15 former students who are currently earning money as opera singers. Now, some of these make their full-time living doing it. Others, I suspect, make a partial living and have other jobs that they do, or else have a spouse that helps support them. But 15 people earning money singing is just really quite incredible. Opera singing is a gig economy. You don't work for any one opera company. You kind of bounce around from gig to gig. But here you can see a partial listing of where some of our students have sung. And they literally have been singing all over the world. We have, although we don't offer a degree in popular music, we have 12 of our students who are making a significant living as popular music entertainers. Most of them are doing singer-songwriter type gigs or leading bands. But we had one student who's doing a dueling piano kind of thing, and he also plays accordion. So all sorts of things that way. And we have 2 students who are currently professional directors. One is a stage director, directing operas around the country, and another is a course master for the Utah Opera Company. We have students who go for find career success in things like arts management, working on the managerial side of nonprofits. Matter of fact, we have 4 right here in town with the Des Moines Metro Opera. The CEO, the head of the development, and then 2 of the other employees on staff are all Simpson grads. But the new CEO of the Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra in Michigan is one of our grads. The leader of the Central Kentucky Youth Orchestras was a voice major, but she's now working as an administrator on an orchestra program in Kentucky. So lots of students doing those kinds of things. We have a couple I found in music business, dealing with working in music stores. And you may not think about music store employees needing a specialized education, but if you get involved with big accounts, like large publishing accounts, or if you're a rep for area schools, having that education really helps you do your job there. I've counted 6 of our musicians who are currently church musicians in churches around the Midwest, making their living that way. Oh, and one I think is in Florida. Oops, I missed her name. We've got one in Florida. And then finally, we do have a number of students who have found career success outside of music. Some of these students double majored in music and something else, but some of them were music majors who, when they got out, life took them in a different direction and they wound up doing something entirely different. For instance, we had my favorite example. We have one student who graduated in music education, taught at an elementary school in Des Moines for a few years, and now he's a brewer of beer and cider in Israel. And I have no idea how he made that transition. I found him on the internet, but I'd love to hear his story. But we have students who are working as high school principals, math teachers. One's a home decor consultant. I think we've got 3 students who have their own private yoga studios. So lots of different ways you can go with a degree in music besides going into music. Finally, the 10th advantage of music at Simpson is our proximity to Des Moines. For those who may not be from this area, Des Moines has a metro population of about 650,000. And so there's a lot of cultural amenities we get to draw from that. Des Moines has an excellent regional symphony orchestra, has a Des Moines Vocal Arts Ensemble. We get first-run Broadway touring productions comes through Des Moines because apparently they make a lot of money in Des Moines. So that's good for us. We have jazz clubs, museums, zoos, botanical centers. There's lots of parks and bike trails, lots of stuff to do in Des Moines. There's restaurants and shopping. At least I hear there's restaurants in Des Moines. I haven't seen one in 10 months now, but hopefully we'll get to go back here pretty soon. We're only 20 minutes from the Des Moines airport with flights to all the major U.S. hubs. So I'm hard-pressed to think of anywhere I've flown in the last 20 years that took me more than 2 legs, flight to a hub and then next place. And then finally, we're only 25 minutes from downtown Des Moines. So while Indianola is a town of 15,000 county seat, seems to be kind of isolated, we're really not. You can be in downtown Des Moines very quickly, just as quickly as some of the folks who live in the western suburbs. So we do offer 3 music majors. We have the Bachelor of Art in Music. This is the degree that has the fewest requirements. And the advantage of having fewer requirements is it makes it easier to pair with another degree. So if you are interested in double majoring, we usually tell people to take the Bachelor of Art. It gives you the most flexibility. And of course, all the degree requirements are minimum requirements. You can always take extra courses that aren't required if you have an interest in doing that. We offer the Bachelor of Music and Music Education. And if you want to teach, be licensed to teach in the public schools, this is the degree you need to get for that. And we offer a Bachelor of Music and Performance. And as I said, we stress performance in all of our degrees pretty much. So the thing that distinguishes the Bachelor of Music and Performance is this is a degree that's designed to prepare you to go on to graduate school in music. For most people who want to be professional performers, the next stage is not going directly into a performing career. The next stage is going into graduate school and further enhancing your skills. And so this degree is designed to give you the extra coursework to make sure that you're successful in that. If you're not interested in majoring in music, but you are interested in taking some music coursework and having it reflected on your transcript, we offer a minor in music. And then also we offer a minor in arts management. But one thing I'll say about the minor in arts management, you do have to have an arts degree to minor in arts management. So that means you have to be a major in either graphic design, music, or theater, or get a minor in one of those areas in order to get a minor in arts management. And unfortunately, business majors cannot get the arts management minor because so many of the courses overlap. Finally, let's finish up by saying that there are scholarship opportunities for you, so that we are very fortunate as musicians, and that we can get extra money when we go to college using our musical skills. So we have music major scholarships if you want to major in music, and if you're a non-music major, we also have music activity awards for you as well, that include covering the cost of private lessons. You do have to audition for these, and we would prefer if you could audition by the end of March. They've already started sending out financial aid packages, and I know our financial aid office likes to get those squared away before we get too far into the decision season for people choosing colleges. If you live close enough to audition in person, we always prefer that. If you can, we do have a staff accompanist who will play for you at no charge if you need an accompanist. But if you can't get here, we certainly are happy to hear you with a video audition, and you can do that as well. One thing to say about these scholarships, they are participation awards, and that means that you do have to participate in an ensemble in order to have and retain a scholarship. So if you want more information on scholarships, you can go and look at you can find information on our website, including a link to an audition form. And if you fill out the audition form, it's got all the things for you to indicate and whether you want to do a video audition or live audition, and it tells you the procedure to go through that. So we'd love to have you be a part of our program. We'd love to have you audition for a scholarship so that you could earn money while you're here and be a part that way. One other thing I'll say about the scholarships is you do need to audition for and receive a scholarship prior to arriving on campus. If you show up in the fall, oftentimes we can't get you those scholarships retroactively. So it's financially advantageous to you to see about auditioning now. And so I think that includes my part. So Lainey, I'll turn it over to you now.
Yeah, so thank you, Professor. And, I should have mentioned prior to this, I actually am a graduate myself of Simpson College. So I graduated this past May. I was an international relations major and a German and religion minor. So very unorthodox, but I will tell you that a lot of students end up mixing and matching different majors and minors while at Simpson College. And as you can see on the chart, we have 80 plus different majors, minors, and pre-professional programs that you can participate in. And there are a lot of students, like Professor Benoit alluded to, that they aren't necessarily a music major, but they are still participating in our music programs that we have on campus. As you can see, we have 1,200 full-time undergraduate students. Now that brings a student to faculty ratio of about 12-1. So I would say that unless you are a business major of some sort or a biology major, most of your class sizes will be right around that 15 to 25 students per class range. And every student that comes to Simpson receives financial aid. So 100% of students, no matter where they're from or what background they are, they all receive some sort of financial aid from Simpson. And you can see that as well. So the next steps, obviously, and I know some of you are from out of state and some of you are from the Des Moines area or Iowa. And so some of you are in different stages of the process. But if you haven't already, I would definitely encourage you to apply to Simpson. There is no application fee. So some schools, definitely keep in mind, do have an application fee. Somewhere around $60 is usually what it is. And sometimes that can get kind of steep. And so at Simpson, we definitely take that into account, and we don't really see the reason to, or any reason to have an application fee. And so definitely do that. And that way we can get you into, that next stage in the process. Also, if you haven't already, I would definitely file the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA. It is a mouthful, but definitely do that if you haven't already, just because that allows schools, if not Simpson, to go through and to see financially where you would be at if you came to Simpson. So definitely do that if you can, and make sure to put Simpson on your FAFSA when you file it. I would encourage you all, regardless of where you're from, to set up an in-person or a virtual visit. Obviously, it would be definitely more beneficial to get you here on campus, But we know with circumstances and some of you being out of state that can be tough sometimes. So we do offer virtual visits as well. That way you can still see campus without having to travel very far to get here. We also have multiple YouTube pages, Instagram accounts. So if you want to see campus and see, what student life is like, you can do that virtually through the internet as well, through social media. We definitely have many outlets that you can do that too. So definitely check those out, and check out our spring events calendar. We have multiple events going on other than this that can, help you through, whether it's filling out the FAFSA or it's, adjusting to student life on campus in, the COVID era, because we understand that's a concern to some families. And so definitely check those out. And thank you for being on here. We appreciate it.
Great. Well, now we'll turn it over to questions and answers. And we can do this a couple ways. If we have vocalists and instrumentalists who want to separate to ask different kinds of questions, we can go into separate breakout rooms. Or since there's 4 of us, we can remain in one room as well. It's fine with me. Or maybe we can see what kind of questions we get. Does anyone have any questions for the faculty? Well, if not, maybe Stephanie and Mr. Eckert, you can talk about a little bit about your program and what you do.
Great. Well, the choirs here are really great communities. I find that one of the reasons that I love choir so much, and that I find people do tend to love choir, is because it's an immediate way to make friends. As soon as you get on campus, you have friends instantly. And one of the things that we've done this year with COVID is we've been really creative about making music together safely, but really separated. But we've still been able to come together as a community and sing. And one of the comments that I get from the students is just how meaningful those rehearsals are throughout the course of the week, because they're able to come together and do something beautiful. So that's at the heart of what we're doing all the time, but it's been especially meaningful during COVID. Both of our choirs are available to majors and non-majors, and they're both auditioned, but that's auditioning for placement. So it's really a no fear sort of situation, and the faculty that are in the audition are just cheering for you the whole time. I'd love to hear what questions you might have about choir or singing at all. What questions do you have?
I'd also like to jump in and add on to that you don't have to do it this evening. If tomorrow morning you wake up and a question comes to your mind, please, you can reach out to any of us and we'll be more than happy to respond individually to your own unique questions, because each of you, I will lay money, are looking at Simpson in a slightly different way.
Right. And I guess I'll mention something a little bit about the band too. A chat question is this for choir first before I speak? Would it feel really close? I don't mean, I'll be honest with you. I'll tell you, from my experience with my students, I've had several students who are Indianola students as well. And it's as close as you make it. There are some students who are going to get in their car and they're going to drive back to Sioux City every weekend. And then I had a bassoon student who was from Indianola itself. She moved into the dorm and never saw her parents except for at concerts. And her house was only 8 blocks away from the school. So one of our piano professors, all 3 of his kids came to Simpson, and he talked about never seeing them when they were here at school.
Except when they knocked on his door and asked for money, though.
Well, if they came asking for money, there was that. But yeah.
Brooke, to answer your question, we do auditions. We'll do auditions differently in the fall based on whether it's safe to be in person or if we need to be virtual still. Last year it was a pre-recorded portion and then an in-person on Zoom portion. So there were 2 parts, and that way we were able to actually meet and talk with people over Zoom. But it's just a requirement to sing 1 song, and then we do a little interview where we get to know you and figure out what you're interested in, and then we'll have you demonstrate some of your already acquired musical skills if you've got them to show off for us, like sight singing or your ability to listen and sing back. We just like to get a sense of what skills you bring with you, so we know where to place you.
Kamisha was asking, if you haven't done music, would it be hard to learn here? Learning music is a process. It takes time. My advice for you would be, if you're just starting from scratch, learning to sing. Most people already know how to sing to a certain extent. Now, there's singing in the shower, and then they're singing really well, and you'll learn how to sing really well with great technique. If you're interested in a musical instrument, my advice for you would be to consider piano or guitar as a good place to start, because those are instruments that you can make music, at your own level almost right away. If you're playing an orchestral instrument, it might take a number of years to get up to the point where you could join the band or the orchestra. But in a piano or guitar, you could be making music right away.
I mean, those are good points. And if it's something you're really interested, I always recommend coming and talking to the people who are teaching. And we're happy to talk to anybody and see who it is. I mean, it has happened. I've had it twice happen, somebody join and actually do okay, having never played before. But it depends on the way it works. So I was just going to say a little bit about that. We have the community about the band. Same thing that Dr. Council said about the choir. It's like the band and the orchestra. It's an instant community wherever you go. I can remember my time at Baylor. From day one, I had 100 friends because I was in the band, just instantly. And it's to be involved in any sort of group is really, really helpful when you're a student. I will also sit there and say we have lots of people who are in band and choir, both ensembles here at the school, and we work very hard to make that a thing that we can do. Some of my best students are majoring in science. I've had first chair clarinets who were not music majors. They could have been had they wanted to be, but they were science majors, and that's fine. And they won the concerto competition, and I'm all good with that. So the band is, the band and the orchestra, the same sort of thing as what Dr. Council said for the choir. There's a placement test at the beginning of the year, just so basically we know what parts would make the most sense for you and to help out with settings like that. And I rotate the parts. I mean, you're not going to be first clarinet or anything anyway. You might be first clarinet on one song, then you might be third clarinet on another song, because as a professional musician, you need to know how to play whatever part you're given. And nobody ever gets called to sub in an orchestra as the first player. Your first call is always, hey, I need fourth bassoon. You better know how to play fourth bassoon. I need second bassoon. And if all you've ever done is play first bassoon, you're in trouble. Are there students able to study abroad? Yes, we've had lots of students. Oftentimes they'll take a semester abroad in London. We've had students in Australia. I've had several students. I had a student leave from, I've had lots of students over the years. Some go to Australia, some go to, Germany, Tahiti. I've had a lot of flute players that kept going to Tahiti. I don't know. It must be nice for flute players there.
Because I'm on the study abroad committee, I just like to jump in. That's a great question. We have two different ways of studying abroad. One is in our May term program, which is a 3-week program. And we have a semester abroad program, which Dr. Eckerty was describing. You are welcome to do either. Yes, it is encouraged. It is, you are required, this gets a little confusing, but I'll try and clarify. You are required to do 2 May terms before you graduate. That does not need to be abroad. That can be in Indianola, or it may be abroad, so if you so choose. The issue of taking a semester abroad is entirely independent from that, and we encourage it very strongly. And yes, we have COVID is an issue, make no mistake. But right now we are preparing for the fall for having a program in London and There are students who are very excited about it, and they're preparing right now in a prep class for that.
Grace, to answer your question about how difficult it's been to sing in choir, I can really relate to that. I think it's been difficult for all of us to find motivation for things that even before we were really passionate about. And so I know that COVID is making that difficult. But what I would say is, if you're close enough and you're on campus, I'm going to put my email in the chat right now, and you should email me and we can let you come in and you can watch for yourself and see if it's something that you're interested in participating in. I know just yesterday I had a student come in and, say, "Thank you, Dr. Council. I was in a crappy mood and now I feel so much better." And so I know that it can help elevate people, and it gives you something to feel like you're a part of. So I'd just say, come check it out for yourself and see if it's something that interests you.
And I'd like to pony on top of that too. I've had several students over the years who have told me that they had really thought about not doing music in college, but when we talk them into it, say, "Hey, you need to try it out." And I had one lovely letter I got from one of my students and said that was ended up being her favorite place on the whole campus. And it's one of those letters that makes you realize so when you're at college, you have to remember that everybody who's in that ensemble is still in there because they want to be. They're not in there because they're just trying to go on the Disneyland trip. Everybody in that ensemble has already graduated from high school. So you've got a different level of devotion and maturity. And so it's a different thing. I taught high school band. I know why people are in some of the ensembles. Sometimes they're in there because grandma bought her that horn and you're going to be in band. And sometimes they're just there because they want to go on the trip, or sometimes they're just there because that girl they like is in the band. That's, whatever. At college, you don't have to be in it unless you want to be. And so that's why it's such a neat thing, the amount of music that you can learn in a college band, in a college choir. It's not the same. I totally say, try it out.
I just want to point out, many of us have multiple areas of interest. I was a violist, Dr. Council was a cellist, and yet we both wanted to sing also. That's not only welcome, it's encouraged at a school like Simpson. You can explore other areas of your interest here and find out which is more interesting. You can also keep both of those areas up and keep doing as you wish. That's the virtue of a small college like Simpson.
These are good questions.
Someone asked about the non-major time commitment. One thing I'll say about non-majors is it's kind of up to you. We've got some non-majors who all they want to do is just come to one ensemble once a week, or 3 times a week for rehearsals, do their rehearsals, and then go on about the rest of their life. And that's the extent of their involvement. We've got other non-majors who are participating in a couple bands and a choir, who have a work study in the music department. You don't know that they're not even music majors. They're here so much, So it's kind of up to you and what level satisfies your need for music.
Mm-hmm. And some people make it their home, whether they're majoring in it or not. And for some people, being involved in everything is exactly what they need. And then some people, one class is too much. Every student is different.
There's a lot of people from all over the country, some people from around the world, and it just feels different. It's a different kind of community than the one that you came from or the one that I came from, because it's less about the local people and it's a little bit more cosmopolitan in a way, even though it's still a small town school.
Yeah. And I thought I'd just mention that too. We have lots of people from lots of different places. And I know that Kamisha just asked if it's cold because you're coming up from Houston. I have several people from Houston. I mean, one of my students I was teaching conducting class this morning is from Houston. I was asking how his folks were. Right now, honestly, it's not much colder here than it is in Houston. But I mean, that's not always the case. However, it's colder. But you have to remember, we have an entire country north of us, and they survive too. We put our jackets on, we push the snow out of the way, and we go about our business. We have lots of students from Atlanta. I've had students from California. I have several students from Texas. You come up and you put a jacket on and enjoy the fact that it's winter and it's cool. And we don't have bugs. No fire ants in Iowa. So there's something right there in Houston.
Kamisha, I grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana, so I'm not that far from Houston, where I grew up. And one thing my wife likes to point out when we used to go down at Christmas time to visit is, I grew up in a house that was up on concrete blocks, like a lot of houses are around there. So it had air circulating underneath it, and the floor was cold, and the water would come out of the pipes was cold. And I didn't have a heater in my bedroom, so the bedroom was cold. And in some ways, it's colder down there in the wintertime than it is up here. Because, if you walk outside, you're going to freeze this week. But if you walk inside, it's actually warmer sometimes than it is down south. Yeah, Kamisha, I also mentioned that Dr. Eckert is from Midland, Odessa. And Dr. Council's from Ponca City, I think. Is that right?
I'm from Ponca City, Oklahoma. I lived in Lubbock, Texas for my doctorate. So I moved, and I moved from Lubbock to Massachusetts and from Massachusetts here. So I've sort of lived in all different climates, and I'm here to tell the tale.
I lived in Austin for 7 years, so we got you covered here. We can help you out. We'll take a look at what you're wearing, and we'll tell you if your coat's going to work or not. You won't freeze.
And I will say, Kamisha, I hope that you and your family are doing okay and that you have everything you need. I know that the Texans are really struggling right now. So hope you're doing all right.
I don't know if there's other questions. One thing I would sit there and say to all of you is, like, if you like music, you like college, and if you don't go to Simpson, obviously we want you to go here, but wherever you go, stay in music. Don't give up music, something that you've worked on. And I always say that to everybody. It's a skill, it's something you've learned, stay with it, let it be something that help you your whole life. Nice thing about music, you can do it at a high level. Music is something you can do your whole life. Don't stop. We'd like you to be playing music here, singing music here. But whatever you do, don't stop the music and make your kids be in music.
Feel free to contact us anytime if something pops in your head and you have a question. And anything that you might want to think about at all, because we don't want there to be anything that gives you a pause and uncertainty and prevents you from thinking of coming here. We want to try and address it. And if we don't know the solution right away, we'll look it up and we will get back to you on that. So
all of our emails are, if you go to the Music at Simpson site, you will find all of our biographies, all of our photos, and all of our email addresses are there. And you can simply click on that and it will provide an email that you can then reply to us.
With that, then, I guess maybe we'll sign off. We certainly appreciate you taking the time to spend the evening with us and hope that we can see an audition tape from you or see you in person.